All right, dude. We're gonna let Max coach us up on the heart here. We're gonna start with the heart wall layers first. So
Yeah, so I can keep track of what I'm talking about.
beautiful.
Okay, so if you look right here, two diagrams. This one, the stoplight, we'll look at later. So this right here, this would be the heart wall layers. And so in black here, we have the endocardium, which is the simple squamous epithelium that lines the inner walls of each chamber of the heart. And then we have the myocardium here in red, which is thick to allow for better contraction. And then we have the epicardium, which is also the visceral pericardium here in purple. So inner, outer, and then down here we have we have a cross section of an atria, and so you'll see this like connective tissue makeup of the layer here, and then in each of these. I have it in red because those are muscles. This is going to be the pectinate muscles. And then we'll move on to the heart itself. So going down the list, I know that it seems counterintuitive, but essentially since the heart is basically just kind of hanging out in place, if you look at it from this angle, it's easier to tell. So say we have a hill here. So this is going to be the apex because it's the top of the hill. And then if you keep looking at it here, look down here, this is where the base is. And that's going to be where the vasculature connects to the heart. Then we have the chambers. So if you open this up, you see here, this structure here, and then there would be a vessel coming down here at the bottom. These are the vena cava, the superior and inferior. And then since they're dumping into this chamber, that's going to make it the right atrium. And then coming through the tricuspid valve here, this is unfortunate because it's all cut up, but there would be a third flap here. This is going to be the right ventricle. When this contracts, it'll pump blood through the pulmonary semilunar valve up the pulmonary trunk to the pulmonary arteries into the lungs. And then on return, hold on, let me, good Lord.
It's awful.
Right here we see the pulmonary veins. That's going to be returning the oxygenated blood to the heart, and that is going to pour into the right ventricle here.
Wait, let me see the right ventricle though. Beautiful. Okay.
And then on here it'll go through the bicuspid valve into the left ventricle, and then when the left ventricle contracts and ejects, it's going to go through the aortic semilunar valve into the aortic trunk, and then right about here is going to be the sinus of Valsalva. That is essentially where the three coronary openings are going to be that feed off of the aorta. Essentially the flaps of the aortic valve is going to block it that way. A significant portion of pressure doesn't go down these small little vessels, but it'll feed into the right coronary, the left coronary, and then back under here is going to be the non-coronary. And then if we're following the coronary vessels, we're going to have the interventricular, or the anterior interventricular, which is going to go over the intraventricular septum, which is the wall of muscle that separates out the ventricles. And then as we follow here, it's going to go down into the right marginal branch. And then for the left is shorter, and it splits into the circumflex that circles around the posterior of the heart. And then the this is going to be the anterior interventricular coronary vessel. So belay what I said earlier. So this one is going to feed across here, and then coming around the back, we're going to have the left marginal branch, and then that will feed all the tissue here. And in terms of the veins that are outlined on our lab, we're going to have the great cardiac vein, which is named because it's huge, and then the small cardiac vein that runs kind of in between the inferior vena cava and the heart itself, and then the middle cardiac vein that's in between the two. And then if you look at this section here, where the blood is collecting from all three vessels, under here is going to be the coronary sinus, which will feed blood into the right atrium, which should be right about in this area. And then in terms of the structures within, we're going to have the papillary muscles that connect the chorda tendineae to the heart wall, and then we're going to have the chorda tendineae, which are the heartstrings that attach to the cusps of each of the AV valves, and it's going to be the same on this side. And then we have the aorta here, which is the major vessel leaving the heart. And we already went over that. And then here's the pulmonary trunk, which will split into the pulmonary arteries here that go to the lungs. Should have written a script.
No, it's okay.
And then for the fetal remnants, right about in here, in adults and most children, we'll see the fossa ovale, which is what feeds from it allows for blood to be shunted from the right atria into the left in order to bypass the pulmonary circuit. And then right here, we have what used to be the ductus arteriosus, but in adults and children with this closed up, it's going to be the ligamentum arteriosum, and that is what allowed any blood that did not make it through the fossa or the foramen ovale in a fetus, whatever skipped there and came into the right ventricle, whatever blood made it up the pulmonary trunk, it was able to be pushed into the aorta because the fetus's lungs are not developed. And then if we look at the board here, so my other diagram, essentially the SA node is going to be right about in this area here, and the AV node is going to be right about where 19 is here. So the electrical circuit, poorly drawn, is here. So we have the SA that fires, and the signal goes across the internodal pathways here in purple, makes it to the AV node. And then here we have the bundle of His, or the AV bundle, which transfers from about here until right about where the interventricular septum starts, which is going to be this like black dot here. And then we have the bundle branches. We have the right and left, which will go down either side, and that's what triggers the interventricular septum to expand to increase the pressure of the ventricles before injection. And then the Purkinje fibers begin right about here, and they run on a 2D sketch. It'll usually look like this, but they run all up the wall here, and that is what allows for the final contraction in order to push blood through the semilunar valves and up the trunks, whether it's the pulmonary or aorta. And then we have Preston here, who is going to talk about the electrical ECG pattern.
And then the ECG just consists of the P, Q, R, S, and T wave. The P wave is the depolarization of the atria. The QRS is going to be depolarization of the ventricle, and the T wave is going to be ventricle repolarization.